Ever feel like you're just drowning in this idea that you need more stuff to be happy?
Like you need that bigger house or that fancy car to finally feel content.
Yeah, it's kind of relentless, right?
Absolutely.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into a way of thinking that's been around for centuries.
And offers a very different path to happiness.
It's called Stoicism.
And it all started back in ancient Greece.
Later became super popular with some of those big Roman thinkers.
Like Seneca?
And Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
So what we really want to do today is explore the heart of Stoicism.
Which is this idea that virtue.
Virtue is like the key.
Yeah, the ultimate good.
To finding that sense of peace that we're all looking for.
And it's really interesting to think about how Stoicism kind of clashes with
the values that we see.
So prevalent today.
Yeah.
Around us every day.
So, okay.
So the Stoics believed.
Real happiness.
Or what they called eudaimonia.
Doesn't come from externals.
They didn't see external things like wealth or status as inherently bad, but they didn't see them as inherently good either.
I see.
They were indifferent.
Kind of neutral.
Just material for our virtue to
yeah.
act upon.
Okay. So they said virtue is the only good. But what did they actually mean by virtue?
Well, for them, virtue was composed of 4 cardinal virtues.
Hmm.
Wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.
So wisdom, what's that all about?
It's not just book smarts.
Right.
It's about practical wisdom.
The ability to discern right from wrong.
Yeah.
Apply knowledge to situations.
And live your life in accordance with nature.
Like that quote from Seneca.
Works, not words. He was all about putting wisdom into action.
Okay.
And it's fascinating when you think about someone like Marcus Aurelius, who had all this power as an emperor
Yeah.
and really needed that wisdom to guide him.
Definitely. What about justice? How'd the Stoics see that?
So justice for them was all about fairness.
Integrity.
Yeah.
Acting for the common good.
Not just for your own benefit.
Right. So there's like this bigger picture.
They really believed in the interconnectedness of everything.
It reminds me of that other Stoic idea.
Yeah, sympathia.
Yeah.
Where
it's all about how we're all part of this.
We're all interconnected.
Yeah, like that beehive.
Like what injures the hive injures the bee.
Right. Okay, so then we come to courage. And we usually think of, bravery.
Right, charging into battle or something.
But the Stoics had a kind of different take on it, right?
Yeah, for them, courage was more about mental and moral fortitude.
Like that strength.
Yeah.
To deal with difficulties in life.
To face hardship.
Not just like running away from problems.
Yeah.
More about like standing strong.
And adhering to your principles.
Even when it's really difficult.
Even when things are tough.
It makes me think of Seneca again.
Oh, yeah.
Who went through so much adversity.
Yeah.
In his own life.
And he talked about how difficulties strengthen the mind.
Right.
Almost like challenges are a way to kind of build our inner strength.
Like a workout for your virtue.
Exactly. And Marcus Aurelius, he talked about this constant inner battle to stay true to his principles.
Oh, wow.
Amidst all the pressures of being an emperor.
So it was like a
lifelong process.
Yeah.
A constant effort.
Okay. And then last but not least, we've got temperance.
Which I think a lot of people today would think of as moderation.
Yeah.
Or self-control.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's about balance in all areas of life.
Like not going to extremes.
Right.
Not being ruled by your desires.
Seneca, he was a big advocate for focusing on what's essential and being content with enough.
Yeah.
Not always striving for more and more and more.
Yeah.
And Marcus Aurelius, he saw temperance as a way to simplify our lives.
To find that inner peace.
Yeah, and to detach from all those things that we think we need, but we really don't.
It's really interesting to think about how all of this contrasts with the messages we're bombarded with every day.
Yeah, it's like everything in our culture is telling us that we need more.
More stuff, more status, more everything.
To be happy.
To be happy.
Yeah.
And it can be so overwhelming.
Can be.
And it leads to this culture of consumerism.
Where we're always chasing the next thing.
Yeah. And never really feeling satisfied.
You get caught in that hedonic treadmill.
Yeah. Always running and running, but getting nowhere.
Exactly.
And then there's that whole other side of it with,
the environmental impact.
the ethical questions around how things are made.
Yeah, like planned obsolescence.
Fast fashion.
Where things are designed to break down.
Yeah.
So you have to buy more.
It just seems like it goes against a lot of those Stoic ideas that we've been talking about.
Yeah. Justice.
Temperance.
Sustainability.
Living in harmony with nature.
All of that.
Okay, but let's talk about business for a second.
Yeah.
Because it feels like in the business world,
It's all about the bottom line.
it's all about profit.
Right.
So how can Stoicism even work in that environment?
Well, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I think these virtues can provide a really strong ethical framework for business.
Really?
Think about it.
Okay.
Wisdom encourages us to think long-term
Okay.
instead of just chasing short-term gains.
Right.
Justice asks us to consider the impact our actions have on everyone.
Not just the shareholders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Courage gives us the strength to stand up for what's right.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah, even when it means potentially losing profits.
Mm-hmm.
And temperance reminds us that it's okay to be successful,
Yeah.
but to do it in a balanced and ethical way.
That doesn't exploit others or damage the planet.
Exactly.
So for those of us listening who are just feeling kind of overwhelmed by this pressure to consume,
Yeah.
what can we do? What are some practical things that we can take away from Stoicism to actually apply in our lives?
I think the first step is to be more mindful about what you're consuming. Really ask yourself,
Do I really need this?
yeah, do I need this?
Why am I buying this?
Yeah.
Is it going to make me happy? Or am I just,
Falling prey to the marketing.
yeah.
And also, I think it's important to focus on things that bring intrinsic value,
Like what?
like strong relationships,
Yeah.
personal growth,
Mm-hmm.
things that aren't dependent on external stuff.
Right.
And then another big one,
Yeah.
gratitude.
Being thankful
Yeah.
for what you have
For what you already have.
instead of always wanting more.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then another thing that Stoicism can help us with is this,
Yeah.
dichotomy of control.
Dichotomy of control. What's that?
So it's this idea that there are things that we can control
Mm-hmm.
and things that we can't.
Right.
And the Stoics encourage us to focus our energy on the things that we can control,
Like our thoughts,
Yeah.
our actions,
our reactions
our reactions to things,
to events.
instead of trying to control things that are outside of our control.
Right, like the weather
The weather,
or other people's opinions.
or what people think about us.
Yeah, exactly.
That just leads to a lot of frustration.
Absolutely.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think Stoicism can be really helpful in our day-to-day interactions with people.
So how do we actually cultivate this inner virtue that we've been talking about?
Well, I think it starts with looking inward
Yeah.
and figuring out what your core values are,
Mm-hmm.
what's important to you.
Yeah.
Think about people you admire.
Right.
What qualities do they embody
Yeah.
that you admire?
Okay.
And you can also think back to times in your life when you felt really fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing? What was important to you in those moments?
Okay.
And the Stoics, they talked about this inner citadel,
This inner citadel.
which is like this,
This space.
this safe space inside of yourself
Okay.
where you can always retreat to.
Okay.
And that's where you find your true strength.
So some practical tips for actually getting there
Yeah.
to that inner citadel.
So journaling can be really helpful.
Okay.
Just taking some time each day to reflect.
To reflect
Yeah.
on how you're living,
On your values.
on your actions.
Yeah.
Are they aligned with your values?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then another thing is just setting intentions in the morning.
Like, what are you going to focus on?
Yeah, like how are you going to show up today?
Okay.
As a wise person,
As a just person.
as a courageous and temperate person,
Okay.
and then at the end of the day, taking some time to review,
To review.
to reflect.
No.
How did you do?
Yeah.
Where did you fall short?
Ah.
Where did you succeed?
So we've covered a lot of ground here today, and it feels like Stoicism really does offer some timeless wisdom
Yeah,
that's just as relevant today as it was centuries ago.
absolutely.
It's like this really powerful antidote to a lot of the challenges that we face in the modern world.
I think the Stoics were really onto something.
Yeah, and at its core, it seems like Stoicism is about this idea that real happiness,
Yeah,
real contentment,
comes from within.
it comes from cultivating that inner virtue.
Yeah,
And it's not something that's dependent on externals,
Right.
like your possessions or your status or any of that stuff.
Okay.
It's something that you can cultivate within yourself,
no matter what's happening around you.
no matter what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
So something for you to think about as we wrap up here today.
Yep.
Think about an area in your own life
Mm-hmm.
where you might be looking for external validation
Yeah.
or approval,
Yeah.
or you're just kind of caught up in that comparison game.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, how might things shift for you
Yeah.
if you started to approach that area
Mm-hmm.
through the lens of these Stoic virtues?
Of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.
It's definitely food for thought.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Stoicism.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.